Welcome! I'm Anutama, and today's video is Happenstance Kitchari. It's late November and we've still got wonderful vegetables in the garden, and we have things that we prepared from the harvest. So kitchari is a traditional Indian dish. It's something quite quick and easy to make, and I hope you enjoy this video. The first step is to go into the garden and see what we can find there. And here I find a whole row left by our woofer Jeremy of wonderful mustard greens. It's late November and they're still very vibrant and nice to pick, although I have to pick through because there is some slug damage. We also had a good harvest of pumpkins. This was a kind of a bit of a mistake. I saved seeds and apparently it crossed with the zucchini, but the resulting squash is pretty good. We're going to go ahead and steam that, and then some beets. The next step is to scoop out some rice and lentils, which is the main base of the kitchari dish. I used 2 cups of rice and 1 cup of red lentils. The rice is an organic basmati rice that I get from Azure. The mustard greens will need to be washed probably 3 times because this time of year there's just a need to wash them extra thoroughly. The rice and dahl then get rinsed in cold water and then drained a little bit. So the next step is to heat up the bigger pot that I'm going to be cooking the rice and lentils in. So I put some oil or some butter or some clarified butter, ghee, in it, heat it up, and then add the rice and lentils and stir them and basically fry them. The rice starts out being translucent, and when it's fried sufficiently, the rice will be basically an opaque white. So in this clip, a few minutes have passed, and I keep stirring to prevent any burning, but you can kind of see the texture of the rice and lentils is different now, and the rice is opaque. Here it says it's a little over 200 degrees. I'm going to add about a half gallon of water. As this cooks, I will be adding more water. You want to keep it still a little bit mushy, particularly to prevent scalding. Now keep the pot with the rice and lentils at full heat. You're going to bring it to a boil, and at this point you can add some spices and some salt, turmeric, and any vegetables that will take 20 minutes to cook, such as beets, for example. You could cut them up and put them in right away if you're going to use beets. While we're bringing the rice and lentils to a boil, we're also steaming the squash. Prepare the vegetables that go into the kitchari any way you like. With bell peppers, I like to stir fry them quickly. Some vegetables, if you like, you can deep fry them before you add them to the rice and dahl. The rice and lentils are now boiling, and so I go ahead and add some dried tomatoes. Any kind of dried vegetables can be added at this point. The squash steamed fairly quickly, and so we're just going to cut it up and put it in right at the end when we're done cooking the rice and lentils. I like to fry the bell peppers in some hot ghee for a few minutes to get them nice and brown, and then add some salt that will bring some liquid out and help them brown nicely. It seems like we always have a lot of extra ricotta. It's a cheese that's made from the whey after you've made a different kind of cheese, such as a cheddar cheese. So when I make a 20-pound cheese, I end up with about 5 to 7 pounds of ricotta, and I'm always thinking of how to use it. So in this case, we press it pretty firmly so that it's stiff, and then we're able to cube it. And then if we fry it in some hot oil or some hot ghee and add some salt and pepper, it is a nice addition for the kitchari. So I cook it until it is nicely browned. I add some salt and pepper and just keep stirring it pretty regularly to keep it browning evenly. So at this point, the rice and lentils are cooked, and the beets that were added in the beginning along with the potatoes that were added a little bit later are also cooked. So we'll be ready to turn off the pot and add the rest of the vegetables and the ricotta. I also have to cook the mustard greens. I like to cook the bottoms of the mustard greens first and because they take a little longer to cook, add a little salt that will release more of the liquids. And then after they've had a few minutes to cook, then I add the tops, which have been cut into, coarsely cut. Because the mustard greens are kind of big and fluffy, I like to put a lid on them and let them steam for a few minutes. At this point, the rice and lentils are a little thicker than I'd like, so I'm adding a little water to help prevent scalding. Well, it looks like I've got more vegetables to add than I anticipated, so I'm going to have to transfer everything into a bigger pot. I was using a 2-gallon pot, and now I'm transferring everything into my heavy-bottomed 4-gallon pot. Now I'm starting to add everything to the big pot, and it's nice to look and see all the different colors, the beets giving the nice red hue, and then the greens and the white of the ricotta. Final step with the kitchari is the spicing. Kitchari is traditionally a pretty spicy dish. I like to use a good amount of ginger, which I mince up fairly finely. And what I'll be doing is called a chaunce. And you fry the spices together and then add them to the dish that you're cooking. Next, I heat up some butter. You can use oil or ghee. And I'm going to first add the finely minced ginger and cook that until it starts to brown. At this point, you can see the water is cooked out of the butter and the ginger is starting to brown a little bit. Now I'm going to start adding spices, starting with spices that I'm not grinding, such as cumin. Once the cumin is starting to brown and you can see a little bit of smoke coming off of it, then it's time to add other ground spices. In this case, I'll be using cayenne, perhaps some ground anise, coriander, and whatever else I find. Spices that you don't put in a chaunce are pepper, asafoetida, and you can add fenugreek, but you have to add it at the very end. It can't take very much heat. When the spices are browned nicely, just add them to the top of your pot of kitchari and stir it in. And don't forget to add cilantro. It's a really nice finishing touch. Kitchari is delicious, served with a little bit of yogurt and some spicy fruit chutney. If If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe. And if you have any questions, give us a comment. I hope you enjoyed it.